We know the snow in the UK last month hurt retail sales, and now we've learnt that it's hurt house prices as well. Estate agents say fewer people looked for homes or indeed decided to put their properties on the market. In a survey by the Royal Institution of Chartered Surveyors, half of those polled said prices dropped in December. Most of the remainder said they stayed the same. Aside from the weather, they say the government budget squeeze is also hurting demand. So here with more insight into that report is Chief Economist for the Royal Institute of Chartered Surveyors. He is Simon Rubinsohn. Thank you very much indeed for coming in. So I guess we had the usual slowdown in home sales over Christmas, fewer people putting their properties on the market as we were hearing there. Are things picking up now?
I think it's too early to say that. Certainly looking at the on the demand side, with mortgage availability so constrained, it's hard to see we're going to see a major pickup in transaction activity. I think probably the more striking feature of 2011 as it progresses is that we're going to see a lack of supply beginning to underpin prices. The prices have been slipping back through the back end of last year, probably will continue to do so in the early part of this year, but we've certainly detected a drop-off in the new instructions through to estate agents. If that continues, that's going to provide a floor.
Why the lack of supply?
Well, typically what happens, as prices slip back, you find that potential vendors decide to sort of perhaps shy away from putting their property on the market, perhaps for speculative purposes, just to test the market. If they don't think they're going to get the price out there, if they think the whole transaction process is going to be quite prolonged because there isn't mortgage supply, why put your property in the market unless you have to?
So you're saying that home prices, house prices will slip?
Well, I'm saying no, they have been slipping. They will continue in the early part of the year, but I think the lack of supply will provide a floor for prices, probably from about the spring onwards. And we could actually see prices begin to pick up towards the end of the year, which is, of course, a mixed blessing if you're a first-time buyer. And
important, I guess, to distinguish between London and the rest of the country, pretty much two completely different stories.
Absolutely. London, our survey is showing, is holding up relatively well. It's a relative story. London is holding up relatively well. Many other parts of the country, particularly the Midlands, struggling in the current environment.
And how will tighter lending conditions impact home sales? We were just getting UK inflation data coming out. It seems as though increasing pressure on the Bank of England now to raise their key interest rate.
Well, I mean, certainly, first of all, there isn't much mortgage finance available for first-time buyers, or it comes at a pretty big cost. If we were to see rates go up, clearly that will put even greater pressure on the market, and that is the big risk in the sort of forecast that I've built out for the course of this year. We, at the moment, still not envisaging rates going up till the very end of this year at the earliest, but obviously we saw today's inflation numbers quite worrying ahead of obviously the VAT increase and what's likely to come through in January and February on inflation. One side effect of what we're seeing on the housing market in the UK is that with mortgage availability so constrained, a lot of people turning to the rental market, we're seeing rents go up quite sharply. I don't know if people have factored in the impact of rising rents on CPI. We think it will actually boost the CPI over the course of this year by a further 0.2%. So it could be, we're talking about CPI inflation above 4% through the course of this year, certainly for a prolonged period.
What about fears of a double dip or a slowdown? I know that you said prices will dip a little bit at the start of the year, then you expect them to pick up, but the possibility of bank regulation driving businesses abroad, could we see a dip in London house prices this year or the next?
I mean, I think that we were looking for a bit more of a pullback in London. It just hasn't come through because the financial service industry has actually performed over the past year relatively well, and we think sort of, notwithstanding a lot of debate about the bonus season, that's still going to provide a layer of support for the London market. And of course, just looking at sort of what we're getting back, the feedback we're getting from our members who work in those areas that are particularly popular with overseas buyers, there's still a lot of foreign interest in the London market.
And foreign demand fueling prices as well there. Well, thank you very much. Simon Rubinsohn, Chief Economist for the Royal Institute of Chartered Surveyors. Great to talk to you.
Thank you.